Hi everyone, welcome. So today I'm going to teach you how to configure the NFTs palette into the Polkadot SDK solo chain template. So uh, there is a previous video here where I discussed the basics of configuring a palette. I would say like this is part two of incorporating an actual frame production palette into Substrate-based blockchain. So what you see on the screen here, this is the Polkadot SDK repo. And inside this repo, we'll find the Substrate framework inside the Substrate folder. And inside this folder, we'll find frame, right? And frame folder, as discussed prior, this is where all the palettes exist. So each one of these folders is a palette. And today, what we'll be discussing is the NFTs palette. This folder right here, this tiny little folder, NFTs. This whole folder here, that's the palette, right? So how do we configure this palette into our Polkadot SDK solo chain template, right? So this is not a parachain. This is just a solo chain, a substrate-based solo chain. What you learned today, the NFTs palette can also be configured into a parachain template, okay, into the parachain blockchain. All right, so the same principles apply. I'm picking the solo chain because it's just simpler. Like I already have this repo here forked. You can see it here. It's inside my personal account here, and I already have it cloned down. So you can see right there. This is actually make it a little bit larger. This is the Polkadot SDK solo chain template. It's cloned on my machine, and I ran cargo build to make sure we start with a blank slate. Everything's working nicely, and you can see it compiled. Okay, so that's pretty much like this is the beginning. You can see it's simple. The solo chain is simple here, right? And what we want to do is we want to add the NFTs palette into this blockchain's runtime, right? And how do we do that? So the first thing is like to get the NFTs palette, there's actually a crate that's published for each one of these frame palettes. So if we go to like Google and say like crate palette NFTs, it'll be like that first entry right there, palette NFTs. And if you click on that, it's like the crates.io. You can see that on the screen, that's palette NFTs. And it was published 3 months ago. That's pretty current. And there's two ways to install it. One is cargo add, and the other one is to add it manually to our cargo.toml, which we're gonna do something like this. Okay, so we're actually going to be using this crate here that Parity published. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go back to my code here. And the first step here is inside my runtime folder, I'm going to open up cargo.toml. And you're going to see that this is the cargo.toml for our blockchain's runtime. And if you scroll down, you're actually going to see that there is a palette here already, palette transaction payment, palette template. So we want to add one more palette, palette NFTs, and the same pattern, workspace equals true. So because this is workspace equals true, just like this, the one right above here, palette template workspace true. If we go up one level, not in the runtime, up one level, so to the root of this repo, cargo.toml in there, you can see that in this cargo.toml, we have everything for this blockchain. And in this case, if you scroll down, there should be our palettes, palette aura, palette balances, palette timestamp, and there's also palette pseudo. There's several palettes here, and you can see that they're actually importing the crate, right? So we want to create one here so called palette NFTs. And the crate version, if we remember, it's down here, 32. So it's going to be version 32.0.0. That looks good. And we want to say default features, false, with a comma right there. Okay, that looks good to me. So right there, we just imported the NFTs palette. Okay, with those two entries and those two cargo.tomls, we imported the NFTs palette, let's run cargo build. Like this is a good like pause moment and like run cargo build before we move any further and make sure it builds before we go into the next step. So right there, adding palette NFTs, beautiful, right there, right? And what you see here, these are like the dependencies for palette NFTs. It uses that dependency, and it's compiling palette NFTs. So that's great. Looks like it's moving along nicely, and it's building. So we'll let that go. And then, so the next step here will be to actually configure the NFTs palette into our blockchain's runtime, right? So it'll be inside the runtime folder and inside source. And then we will go into librs. So while that builds, I'm going to collapse that. We can check it later. So this is the code for our blockchain's runtime, right? You're importing the dependencies there. And if we scroll down, you're going to see something that's very familiar. You're going to see the palettes. So where we configure the palettes. So module runtime, struct runtime. Right below this, this is where we're constructing our runtime, constructing it out of the frame palettes. You can see all those frame palettes that we saw in the cargo.toml all the way down here. And we want to add NFTs palette. So we're going to have this macro here, and the autocomplete already gave us a nice index number, index 8, which was like sequential, right? The last one was 7. Keep in mind that whatever we pick as the number here, that's going to be set in stone, right? Because if we run our blockchain with that number, with Pallet NFTs, number 8, let's say, we pick number 8, you can pick whatever number you want. And then let's say in the future, your blockchain's running with Pallet NFTs, and then in the future you want to change that index number, that's a no bueno, that's a breaking change, right? So that'll change, that'll break the API. So we want to keep this number pretty static. So let's include here NFTs right there, Pallet NFTs. And we can include that because we have it in our cargo.toml, which compiled perfectly. So that's going to be the first entry. And then we need to configure Pallet NFT. So what does that mean? If we go back to the Polkadot SDK repo and we go into Substrate Frame NFTs, and we actually go into the source code of Pallet NFTs, which by the way, you should have already read like the source code before like configuring Pallet NFTs into your blockchain's runtime so that you know what Pallet NFTs does, right? There's a lot of useful features for Pallet NFTs. So if I go into librs for the NFTs palette and I scroll down, make it larger. Okay, so what I care about here is the configuration. So you can see public mod palette, public struct palette, and then we should see a config right here, public trait config, right? So we're defining the configuration for our palette. What is expected? What the palette expects? Well, the palette's going to emit events, right? Because substrate palettes usually emit events to the outside world to let the outside world know what's happening. And the palette's going to have other configuration types. So we can see collection ID, item ID, currency, force origin, crate origin, and it's all really nicely documented. So this is everything that Pallet NFTs is expecting to be set up as the configuration. So all of this needs to be defined. All these, like you can see that it's expecting for deposit per byte, it's expecting a deposit balance of, right? Like string limit, it's expecting a U32, right? So we have to kind of like implement each one of these. So where do we do that? We do that in our blockchain's runtime up here. So if we scroll up in the librs here, we should see examples. In this one here, it's actually not in here. It's modular, so it's actually going to be in the configs folder on the left-hand side of navigation in modrs here. So it used to be that everything was in the librs. That's how it used to be. Nowadays, like we're becoming a little bit more modular with Substrate, so you can actually define your pallet's configuration, the implementation of it in the mod RS. So if we go in mod RS, scroll down, we can see here's the frame system config we're implementing. We're saying, hey, for type block, this is what a block is. For top type block weights, it's runtime block weights. And if we scroll down, here's palette aura, the config for palette aura, and we're defining it there. We're defining each of the types, what they are, palette grandpa, palette timestamp, palette balances. So we scroll all the way to the end, palette template, and we're going to need one here for Pallet NFTs. So there is an autocomplete. Oh, that's nice, but I don't think this is here. This isn't relevant. So we'll gut that out, take that out. So we're going to need to define each one of these in here, right? We're going to need to implement each one of those types, like to define what each one of those types are. A good way, so it's a bit of a cheat sheet. It's not only a cheat sheet, but it's like it helps a lot. So when I get to this point, when I'm integrating, configuring a frame palette, what I like to do is I like to go into the kitchen sink node in the Polkadot SDK. So let's do that. I'm gonna open up another tab here with the Polkadot SDK. And if we go into Substrate, bin, folder, node, we're gonna go into the kitchen sink node. So this is the kitchen sink node. It means it's got everything. It's got all the palettes configured in there, runtime, source, and do you see here? Here there is no mod RS, there is no config folder. It's all inside of librs. So if I do this is huge. Like this file is huge. It's a kitchen sink, right? So if I say maybe I say palette nf underscore NFTs so that we go really quick. Almost there. There it is. Right there. Boom. Right there. Right? Okay, cool. So this is an example. So this kitchen sink node has Pallet NFTs configured in there. So what we're going to do is, so that this is fast, I'm going to copy this configuration and I'm going to go back into my VS Code and paste that in there. And then we're going to need to tweak it a little bit. So runtime event, that's good. That's the same. Collection ID U32, that's fine. Fine. Pallet balances is fine. Let's see here. Or this isn't pallet balances, it's just balances, I believe. Force origin, ensure root. We got to make sure that that's imported. Collection deposit, we need to define that. I don't think that's defined in here. So each one of these, we need to make sure that they exist, right? And so let's actually do that. So type features, we need to import that. And the way that we can do that, a quick way is for example, for features, right? Type features. If I double click on that, you can see that on the right hand side, we have the GitHub. It actually shows us in this file, if we click on line 2023, if I click on that, it's actually showing where that's defined. So it's defined as a constant here like this. So this is part of the Palette NFTs configuration. So I'm actually going to need this. I'm going to copy that, go back to VS Code and add that right here. And so public features is a type palette features. So we're going to need to import palette features, right? So because we don't have that defined here. So once again, click on that. And on GitHub, it's really nice. It shows us in this file that it's imported at the top, line 84, use Pallet NFTs palette features. So I don't even need to copy that. I'm just going to go back to VS Code, scroll to the top, and import that in. So let's see. I'll import it here. Use palette NFTs underscore NFTs because we have that imported. We can use it. And then I believe it was features. Let me check. use palette features. Okay, so palette features. And it's like, what is that, right? What is palette features? Well, we can go back to VS Code, or I'm sorry, to GitHub. Go to the Polkadot SDK, the tab that has the NFTs palette. And if I expand the side navigation here, inside of the NFTs folder, there is, let's see, there is something called types, a file called types.rs. So it's in the same hierarchy as librs, types.irs, types.rs. And in that file, if I scroll down, these are the types. So the way that this NFTs palette was organized is really modular. So we have a Rust file called types, which defines the types for this NFTs palette. It's really nicely organized. And inside this file, we scroll through the different types of types. And if we scroll towards the bottom, there should be one here. You can see mint settings, mint types, attribute namespace, palette attributes, collection config, item setting, lots of features, right? Uh, item config, palette feature, and then scroll a little bit further, palette features. So I think this one is what we're importing, palette features. If we go back to VS Code, right there, palette features, okay? So you can see it's public. That's why we can import it, okay? And it's the palette features. You can see the code here. And we got to import it there. So if we scroll to the bottom, where we see type features equals features, and then up here, public features, palette features, and we're saying palette features all enabled, right? So we're enabling all the palette features. And as we saw, the code all enabled is right there, right? Pretty cool. Um, and it operates off of bit flags. That's why when we uh, compiled, I think you saw something like enum flags, one of the dependencies, right? So that's there. The other one that we need to configure here, collection deposit. Like if we do a search here, I don't think, yeah, there's no collection deposit. We need to find that. Go back to the kitchen sink. Go back to the kitchen sink palette config and collection deposit. And if we click on that on the right-hand side, we can see collection deposit right here, line 1930. Let's take a look at that. So what's interesting about this is that collection deposit is actually defined in the parameter types above palette uniques, which is a different palette. It's like NFTs 1.0 palette. The NFTs palette that we're configuring, it's like NFTs 2.0 palette. It's like uh, a this was like the first iteration of NFT logic on Polkadot palette uniques. You could say that the second iteration, the better iteration of NFT logic on Polkadot is Pallet NFTs, the one that we're configuring. So it just so happens that collection deposit is used here, and it's also used in Pallet NFTs. So we're going to copy that, and I think item deposit, maybe approvals limit is also used. Let's see. So I go back to Pallet NFTs. Is there an approval limit? Yeah, there's an approval limit, so we'll take that too. So VS Code, add that to our constants up here. And collection deposit $100. So this blockchain, this solo blockchain doesn't use dollars. Um, the constant isn't defined as dollars. The unit of a digital currency is not defined as dollars. I believe that it's defined, let's see up here, this is a runtime, so we should see it somewhere here. The configuration, or actually it's in the librs. So right here. So it's actually called unit. And the base unit is set to this large number for precision, because in Substrate blockchains, we don't use decimals. So we pick a large number as the base unit for precision. So it's called unit for this blockchain. So we're going to use that. We could have called it dollar, right? We could have called it dot, right? You can call it whatever you want. in this case, it's called unit. So if we go back, all we need to do in our config is switch this out from dollars to unit, like that, and like that. Okay, so that looks good. Meta deposit base. Not sure if we have that one configured. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have that one configured or defined. So we need that one. So go back to VS Code or GitHub, meta deposit base. And it's defined up here for some other palette assets. That's great. Thank you, palette assets. And oh, we also have string limit. So we're probably going to need string limit, but we'll look for that. Well, I'll copy that anyways. Okay. So you can see how it's useful, right? But keep in mind, like you want to configure this according to your blockchain, right? So I'm just putting numbers here just to get it, 10 unit. I'm accepting that, but this is up to you for your blockchain, what you want the deposit to be, what you want the collection deposit to be, right? You can modify this accordingly. I'm just showing you how to configure it. So let's see. We got this. I believe we have this. Yep, we have that. That's set. String limit. Oh, okay. String limit. We don't need that. It's already defined down there. Okay. Key limit, value limit, approvals limit. We have that. Yep. Okay. Item attributes approval limit. I think we need that one. So let's find that. Do a Command F. So Palette Uniques also has that one. So we'll just take that. That looks good to me. Item attributes approval limit set to 20. We can change that later. Max tips. Doesn't look like we have that. So let's do max tips might be defined in multiple places here. Let's see. Max tips 10. Oh, for palette uniques. Okay, that's fine. So add that here. And then what else? Approvals limit. Where's max deadline duration? I believe we need that one. Yeah, let's grab that one. Okay, so we have a block number here for the deadline. And that's up to you, like what you want to configure it to. Days. Do we have days in our blockchain? Let's go to the runtime and see. Do we have days? Oh, we do have days. Okay, cool. So we have days, and it's interesting how you track time with the blockchain, right? So I believe you're tracking time here with block numbers. So that's how we're tracking time. So what else? Let's see. Features. I showed you how to set that one up. Signature. So signature, yeah, we need that one. Okay, so for off-chain signatures, so what does signature in our case mean? So let's go back to Pallet NFTs. Okay, so signature here, let's see what this is. Okay, so signature, where's that coming from? So signature, we're on line 2047, which is here. And then it looks like signature is imported on line 76. What is this? And then here, down here, there's another type for probably another palette type signature, multi-signature. So I'm curious what this is. Let's just check 1636. Okay, that's palette identity. So let's see, line 76 is importing signature. So it's coming from node primitives, account ID signature. However, we're inside of the Polkadot SDK repo, so it's convenient for the kitchen sink to just import it from node primitives. This is not available in our solo chain. We don't have node primitives in our solo chain. I don't believe we have it. We'd have to like import it or something. So for signature, how do we do this? We're going to have, I believe if I remember this correctly. So there's two ways we could figure this out. So one way is this is like a little bit of a hack, right? If you were stuck, right? I believe it's inside. See how we have SP runtime here? I believe that we can access SP runtime. I think there's a signature there. Yeah. So I think that's, I don't know if that's the signature, like the way that I would confirm this, right? One way, one like thing that I like to do is I know that Pallet NFTs is configured already in Asset Hub, right? Polkadot Hub. So like if I can show you in production, right? So if I go to Polkadot.js apps and I open up Polkadot Asset Hub, connect to it, we can see that if we go to like extrinsics, there should be an NFTs palette in here, NFTs, right? So it's configured there. So one little cheat sheet that I like to do is if we go into the runtime, so the Polkadot Asset Hub runtime, right? Where is that? That's, I believe that's in the fellowship. So if we search for fellowship runtime Polkadot, let's see, this would be like Polkadot Fellows runtime. And we go into system parachains because Asset Hub slash Polkadot Hub is a system parachain. Asset Hubs, Asset Hub Polkadot, source, librs. So if I scroll, if I do a find Pallet NFTs, where, oh, we got the proxies, which is cool. So signature, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if this gives us what we want. So on the right-hand side, in this file, looks like we're importing signature on line 116. Parachain's common. Interesting. Parachain's common. So where is parachain's common? So you can see we're going up the rabbit hole into the source folder. One up, I want to look at the cargo.toml. Parachain's common. So parachain's common here. Line 98, parachain's common workspace true. So we would have to go up one all the way. I think that's where I was, wasn't it? I was in this cargo.toml. Yeah, I was just there. Okay, so I think we have to go up a couple more all the way to the root. So cargo.toml, common. Let's do parachains common. Okay, it's the crate. So it's coming from the Polkadot SDK. So like if I, I kind of know that. So if we go to Polkadot SDK and parachains common, where would that be? Would that be in Cumulus? Because Cumulus is like substrate configured for parachains. Polkadot parachain, parachains, parachains, common. Nice. So going to the source. Now remember, if we go back to that tab just to show you, well, I moved it around, but it was importing the signature from parachains common, right? So if I go to librs and do, I don't know, signature. Ah, public text signature, SP runtime multi-signature. Okay, okay, all right, all right. So that's where it is. Okay, so that's cool. All I have to do, go back to the solo chain and say, where was I in the solo chain? Here, right? So use SP underscore runtime multi-signature as signature. So just to show you again, if we go back to the GitHub, SP runtime multi-signature, okay? And it's public signatures, okay? So that's the signature that we want. Okay, so that's good. Scroll all the way down. Okay, we got signature, signature as traits verify signer. That one, do we have that one? I think let's continue. Let's see. Let's look at the other one. So as insured with ARC, do we have that? So I think some of these insures we're going to need. Like I don't want to compile now because if we compile right now, I know that there's some types still missing. So if we compile now, we're going to get a lot of red. So one thing here too is these units here. Remember, we're in the mod.rs file, and unit is defined in librs. So we need to actually import this from our librs. So that's from super here. So unit and days. Okay, so that's good. And then ensure root. We have that one. So I don't think we have ensure root. What other ensure do we have? Ensure root. And then ensure signed. I think we need that one too. So ensure signed this comes from frame system. So we can import that in. And then ensure this other one here, ensure origin with args. We need that one. So we need to import these in. I believe so. This one use frame system, ensure signed. Yeah, so I think we need ensure signed. That was down there. There it is. And then I believe that the other one that we need is this one. And I don't think that one is inside of frame system. Oh, it's the autocomplete saying is inside of frame support. So I think the autocomplete is correct. So we could just I'm gonna take this and we have frame support here. And what did it say? It said frame support. So I'll do this again. This was useful, this autocomplete. Traits. Okay, cool. All right, so frame support traits. So it'll go there. And then I think we need one more, right? Or was that it? Is that sufficient? Is that sufficient for me to compile? That is the question. Let's compile. Let's see. So we have the signature features. I think we have everything. And keep in mind, like this is for you to define for your blockchain, all of this, right? So the other one was ensure root, right? Was we had ensure root somewhere? Okay, so ensure sign, ensure root here. Oh, it's already coming in. I think we're good. All right. So this is where it can get overwhelming. Like if you have one thing off, you're going to get a lot of red on your screen. But I think we're all right. Let's try it. Cargo build. So while that builds, okay. And then the other thing that we're going to have to configure is the benchmarks. So like this is a substrate thing, right? Like because this is a solo chain, Pallet NFTs to execute transactions for Pallet NFTs, execution time, the wait is going to be different for a solo chain than it is for a parachain and such, right? Especially however way we have it configured. So we're going to need, okay, we got some red. We're going to need an entry here. So I'm going to do that right now. Pallet NFTs for a benchmark. Okay, so let's see what we got. All right, so block number provider, frame system, signature traits, verifies, use of undeclared. Okay, so we need that one. That's missing. This one here, off-chain public. Where's that? Let's look that up. Here, signer, signature as traits signer. What could that? Where's that? So, hmm, this one. If we go back to the Polkadot SDK, maybe there's some help there that we can use. Let's go to palette, the configuration. So we're inside the kitchen sink node here. If I go to palette underscore NFTs, maybe there's something there that can help us right here. So off-chain public signature as traits verifies signer. Okay, so there's something here that can help us. The other one that we now have is the runtime for Asset Hub. And that one, maybe we can find something there as well. So let's go there. Runtimes, system parachains, Bridge Hub, Asset Hub, Polkadot Asset Hub, source, the runtime itself. And if we scroll to Pallet NFTs, past the proxy, signer, off-chain public signature as verify signer, line 839. Signature as verify signer. That's different than what we had here. Signature as traits verify signer. So this one is a little bit trickier. What do we had here? So I think the only thing that I can think of is that signature as traits. So where is that coming from? Maybe if we have because here it's coming from SP runtime. So SP underscore runtime. Yeah, traits. Let's see if that does it. Compile, Cargo build. Let's see. So you can see block number. Okay, so hold on a second. Block number provider frame system palette. This is different. This error is different. So it looks like the other one passed. Block number provider is not a member of trait palette NFTs. Okay, where is that? Where do we get that? Type block number provider frame system palette runtime. Not a member of trait palette NFTs config. Honestly, I don't think we need that one. That this block number provider, I think if we go back to the NFTs palette in the Polkadot SDK inside the substrate, this is here in the kitchen sink. But if we actually go into the palette NFTs, and go into the librs of Pallet NFTs. Look at the configuration. Okay, there's the config. Scroll down and provider for the block number. Normally, this is a frame system pallet. So frame system pallet. Hmm. Frame system palette runtime. Hmm. And if we look at the asset hub, so the asset hub runtime, huh, here it's not, it doesn't have the block number provider. I wonder what version of Pallet NFTs it's using. Let's see if we can find it. It's probably going to say workspace true here. Pallet NFTs. Workspace true. Okay, so we'll go to the root. Cargo.toml. Pallet NFTs version 32. Right there. Okay. All right. So it doesn't look like it's using the block number provider. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to save it and I'm going to rebuild it. Okay. So it's building the runtime. See if it builds. And interestingly, though, why did we omit that, right? Like what's interesting is that this source code here for block number provider, okay, this is the kitchen sink. It's using frame system palette runtime. But the reason, so I think what I think is happening is that this version of Pallet NFTs that's being configured here is newer than version 32. Version 32 probably doesn't have this, okay? And you're going to see it's probably going to build. Yeah, it built, right? So this is probably a newer version of Pallet NFTs. I wonder if we can see what version is here. Let's see, Cargo.toml, does it list the version? Version 22. Okay, this seems to be different. Remember that Pallet NFTs cargo is 32. So I'm not very familiar with the versioning. So this is 32, and then here, where do we go? In the actual cargo.toml Pallet NFTs, it's 22. I'm not very familiar with how the version 32, like how that's done uh, according to this, right? So, but that's the reason I think it worked. That I believe that what the source code here is newer than this here. Like, in fact, we could look up here and see it was modified 2 weeks ago. So there's some newer changes because here it says published 3 months ago, right? So that's why that's working now, because we're pulling in this version of Pallet NFTs from 3 months ago, which I bet, like, if we looked in the history here, I don't know if I'll have time to do this, but like, if we scroll like December 21st, right? 3 months ago, I don't know. What is this? 2 weeks ago. What is this? Reorder dependencies, keys. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a lot here. A lot of changes. Okay, runtimes. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. And then here, replace homepage. That's earlier than 3 months. Hmm. The other way, the quick way to do this is just to look in the actual config of NFTs palette and do like a blame. So right here, blame. Block number 2 months ago. Okay, so that's new. Okay, so it's a new change. So we can see it happened 2 months ago, and the crate that we're using is from 3 months ago. And so that's why it worked, because we're pulling in the crate from 3 months ago, which is the recommended crate, by the way, the one that's published here. Okay, so this should be good to go. Let's test it. But you can see I wanted to show you a bit of my detective work and like where I go, like what are the resources that I use, right? I went to the Polkadot SDK, right? The Pallet NFT source code. I went to the parachain runtime, right, where it's already configured, right? So these are things that I normally do whenever I get stuck and I look around, right? So I just wanted to show you that, because it's not always just clear cut, right? And you do need to have some sort of Rust knowledge as you're going about this. So we already have compiled. And let's see if it runs. Let's run the blockchain. So we're running the blockchain, the solo chain, and this one should have Pallet NFTs configured. We're just waiting for the RPC server to load up, and there it is, 9944. So if we go back to the browser and open up the Polkadot.js apps, and we go to, it's okay, it's automatically connected to the solo chain. Already some blocks got produced. We go to extrinsics, and we should now see NFTs. There it is, NFTs. Okay, so that's there. You can see that's how you configure Palette NFTs. All right, so there you go. What I didn't cover in this tutorial, I didn't cover the benchmarks. Like we configured it, but I didn't like rerun the benchmarks, right? So that the weights are adjusted for this blockchain, right? That would be a different video. That's a topic in itself. But keep in mind that if you're going for production, you'd want to do that, all right? Because whatever the default weight is set for this palette, it's going to be different for this blockchain, right? So we'll leave that for another day. Okay, so that's about it. Hopefully that was useful. Try it out yourself.